Okay, so we'll start. Hare Krishna once again to everyone. Thank you for coming. So this is to understand Bhagavad Gita in 18 days, which is ISKCON Radha Govinda Temple, Mangaluru is organizing. So let's pay obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda, and we have a Mangalacharani. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Nanaka Shalakaya Chakshummitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavcha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadotam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Desha Pasha Desha Tarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So as I said yesterday, we have based our teachings on the our teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. He is the founder Acharya of ISKCON. Okay, so we could chanting just 1 minute. There's somebody on the door. Just. Sorry, 1 minute. I'm sorry for the disturbance. See, yesterday we had the chanting of Krishna's holy name is spread around all the world. This prediction was made by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago, isn't it? So where was ISKCON started? And which year? What was the Srila Prabhupada age at that time? It was started in 96, and we saw how he had started with great difficulty at the age of 70 years, but it was all made successful. Within 10 years, he had 108 temples around the world. So we are going to see what this Bhagavad Gita's teachings is all about. So we had a recap, and when I asked you all what was so special about Bhagavad Gita, and I got very good feedback from you all, comments that some said it was spoken 7,000 years ago, and it is still relevant today for day-to-day life. So we had that. So with that, let's start our thing. In Bhagavad Gita, we are going to talk about 5 topics. This involves about what all we are going to talk about is Ishvara, that's one who is going to control the whole cosmic manifestations, and Jiva is the living entities like animals and human beings, trees and all that. Prakriti is our material world. Then Kala, time, and the Karma is our activities. So Krishna's philosophy is going to touch up on all these 5 topics. So today's chapter is chapter 1, Arjuna Vishaada Yoga. Arjuna's yoga of lamentation. So what is Arjuna going to say in this chapter? Let us see. So this starts off with the observing the armies on the battlefield. So we are in the battlefield at Kurukshetra, and first this Bhagavad Gita starts with the observation how the armies are being arranged. Okay, and the overview is that it starts with the Dhritarashtra's inquiry. Then we see the fear in Duryodhana and the blowing of conches, Arjuna's observation, and he gives his reason for not to fight. And what we have done is we have given the sections so that it is easy for you all to understand when you read the chapter how the sections are there, so that this gives you an idea. No, otherwise if you just read it, it clarity won't be there. But every time we'll be giving you this overview so that you know what are the verses which refer to what. Okay, so with this, let us enter into it. So these are the different reactions which we are going to see. Okay, that is the Dhritarashtra, the king. Hare Krishna, can you all hear me? No problem?
No problem, Mataji.
Thank you.
Yes, we can tell.
Okay, so we are going to see the reactions to the same scene. Where there's an armies are there, Kauravas are in one side, Pandavas are on the other side, all ready to fight. And you have going to see the reaction of the king Dhritarashtra. And we are going to see about Duryodhana and then finally about Arjuna. Okay, these are the things we are going to see. So it starts off with the verse by Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. So now it is Sanjaya is asking Sanjaya what is happening in the battlefield. And how is Sanjaya seeing it? Because he got the vision by Vedavyas to see from sitting in the palace, he can observe what is happening in the battlefield. So he gets the divine, just like we see in TV, you know, whatever happens in the other part of the world, you get relayed on the TV and we are able to see it sitting from a home. Same here, sitting in the palace, Sanjay is able to see what's happening in the field. And you know, the Dhritarashtra is blind. Okay. So what does he say here? O Sanjaya, after assembling in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do, being desirous to fight? So he is very anxious. So you can see how he is looking. Dhritarashtra's face, you can make out what is his reactions like. And what do we say? The three words are very important in this sloka. One is Dharma Kshetra. That is a significant. What is that? In any auspicious thing, it's a pilgrimage. We do boil milk, isn't it? But if you put some lemon juice in it, what happens? It breaks. No, you get paneer out of it. So in here, what is it distinguishedly? The Dhritarashtra is asking, what are my sons, Mamaka and sons of Pandu? Pandu is his brother. What are the Pandu doing? He is already is in mind. There's that two different things. They doesn't see of his own family, right? And here we are seeing the conflict within the family. The family, the cousins are fighting, and that is how they have come into the battlefield to fight. And then he's asking Kim Akurvata. He knows they have come to fight, but still he wants to know what. So we can best imagine what is his mentality, because he's quite anxious. So how is he looking at the battlefield? You can see there's a lot of worry in it, and he's anxious, isn't it? You can also put your answers in the Zoom chat by observing this. So in the please, I'll be happy if you all interact with me in the chat box. That'd be nice. So this is how he's very worried, because he's anxious. His own sons are there in the thing, and he wants to know the outcome. And he's actually the cause for all this battle, isn't it? He's blind. And it was his attachment to his friend, family, to his sons, that this is the outcome of the family. This is what happens when there's a conflict. And he was not just affection to his own son, but he was too attached. And whatever Duryodhana said, he wanted to just accept it and carry out. And he didn't want to oppose him, and he didn't want to see what was right or wrong, but he wanted the kingdom for his own sons and not for the sons of his brother Pandu. So it was his great attachment which has resulted into this, isn't it? So which is important, whether it's attachment or to be affectionate to your family? So the question arises that. So this was due to his attachment to his sons and attachment to the throne. To the throne, he wanted to be the king. though he couldn't be the actual, he was the eldest son, but because of his blindness, he couldn't become the king. Only when his brother died that he had to take over as a guardian, because he has to wait for his nephews to grow up. So that was like a sore in his mind, So, and he was very much attached to the becoming the king, and he would do anything for his sons to take it. So you can think about the mind of Duryodhana and ourselves and things. So in any such conflicts are happening around the world today. Even now you see a lot of wars are going around, and so many riots in the countries, and a lot of things are there. Anxieties are there. And, we can actually reflect all this, what's happening, though it was happening 5,000 years ago. But still, we see that in each country, we can find this happening. Okay. I read about this. And and why is he dissatisfied? Because he was not the king, isn't it? He was not the rightful heir to the throne because of his blindness. Actually, he need not have to be so dissatisfied, because he was born in a royal family, right? He had all the opulences, everything. And his only thing is he was not blind. He was blind. But other things, everything was there for him. He could have been satisfied. He had a very devoted wife, and he has children and all that. And also the palace opulence. So it was nothing to be dissatisfied. But he was always focusing on his blindness. And finally, he was doing a lot of adharma in that relation. Okay, that's why we can see all the time people are dissatisfied, will end up with sinful activities. Had he rightly handed over throne to Yudhishthira, what would have been the result? Okay, surely it would be. Anyone can answer also. Hare Krishna. So the war could have been avoided, isn't it? So now we come to see the reaction of Duryodhana. What does he say? Pashyatam Pandu Putranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Viyudam Drupada Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata. What does he say? O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. So here he comes running. The minute he sees the army being arranged from the Pandava side by the general, who was the general there, the Drupada, son of Drupada, Drishtadumna. So he was very taken aback by seeing this thing arranged so well. So he comes running to his, who is this person here? Anyone can make out?
Dronacharya.
Yes, Dronacharya. Comes to his Dronacharya and says, look at your disciple, the son of Drupada, he has arranged so well. Okay. So, and with this, you should be able to understand this political behavior of Duryodhana. We should analyze that, because that will come to know how this whole thing, he was the one who would do anything for getting the throne. He was very much prepared to go to any lengths, isn't it? So, and we are seeing in these verses from 1 point to 1.9, we can see with the behavior of Duryodhana. Here, first thing, he calls Drishtadumna as the Drupada Putrena. He doesn't tell Drishtadumna, but he says son of Drupada, because he knew Drupada and Dronacharya had some fight misgivings, and they were enemies. Drupada had this thing on Dronacharya. So in fact, he had made a sacrifice to get a son and a daughter, for killing Dronacharya. He knew that he cannot defeat Dronacharya because he was master of archery, everything, and the military thing. So he wanted a son who could kill Dronacharya. Then he had a daughter to marry Arjuna. So here he is coming to tell Dronacharya, look, because you were lenient, and he was the one, Drishtadumna also learned everything about the military things from Dronacharya. So he doesn't want to point it out to Dronacharya that he should not be lenient in this time with the Pandavas. So he is very sarcastically, he is coming and telling. Then in these verses, he mentions all the great heroes from Pandava's side so that Dronacharya would take the war seriously. He says they are so, you can't, they are comparable to Bhima and Arjuna. For him, in his mind, is only Bhima, because he knew that anything which happens, finally it will be, he will fall under the hands of Bhima. So that was there in his mind, and he specifically mentions Bhima's and Arjuna's worship here. And then, but he doesn't stop with that. He also mentions the great heroes from his side, so that, his warriors won't feel bad about it. But when he was mentioning the heroes, he mentions first the name of Dronacharya, even before Bhishma, who was the eldest. Because the Brahmana before the meaning, then Bhishma will be happy that he is giving some respect to the Brahmana. Because in those days, in Vedic culture, Brahmanas were very much respected. Even the Kshatriyas all used to respect the Brahmanas there. Then that was the etiquette. Then he mentions the name of Kripacharya, that is Dronacharya's brother-in-law. Then Ashwatthama, Dronacharya's son. So that he's trying to tell Dronacharya that you should fight for my sake and not for the Pandavas. See, he's pointing out all this, and he's being very political, diplomatic also. Okay. And this is, you can see his mentality. And then he mentions the name of Vikarna because he's his youngest brother. He was the one who was, you didn't like the incident when Draupadi was disturbed. He actually opposed it. So he didn't want him to fight on their side. He wanted his help of the Vikarna also. So see that this was this cunningness, the way he was mentioning the thing and how he is manipulating Dronacharya and all that. And also he says about his friends, there are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. So he says, no, they have come, and he knew that in this war, even if they lose their lives, he's not bothered. All he wants is, he wants a victory for it. So well-equipped weapons and military sites. So this is how we could see the Duryodhana, but you can see the fear in his eyes, he knows. He was not sure whether all these people will fight for him or not, That doubt was all the time in him, and he points it out in this cunningly. But one thing we should know, that there are 6 types of aggressors. People who give poison, they will even burn the houses, arsonists, they will attack with deadly weapons. The thief, and who occupies another's land, the one who comes. These are the 6 types of aggressors as seen in literatures. And in this case, Duryodhana was all that. He fed Bhima poison cake, I think everybody knows. And Duryodhana arranged for a house of Lac to be built so that he can get them, set it ablaze, and so that they will be dead. But Krishna, they could come out of it well. Then Sakuni cheated in a dice game and plundered all their wealth. Then Kauravas also occupied the Pandavas' land and wouldn't give them even a cent of land to them. That's how this finally it ended up with the war now in Kurukshetra. And they also stole Draupadi by foul means, once in dice game and things. So that he has done everything. Everything possible one can think of, that kind of things he has done, and he would go to any extreme length to get it. So while he was talking like this, then Bhishma Pitama will blow his conch shell so that to give some encouragement there, and everybody blows this conch shells. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious and thus vibrating both in the sky and the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. So Sanjaya now is explaining all what's happening in the battlefield. He could see the fear in the sons of Dhritarashtra. So that was the vision he had. You could observe how the sons of the Dhritarashtra were quite scared. They knew that the end has come, and Sanjaya could see all that, and and they knew they were on the wrong side, and it was from the beginning. And the minute all these conscious and vigils and all were things, you could see the fear in the sons of Dhritarashtra. But the Pandavas were very confident, and you couldn't see such kind of emotions on the Pandava side. Okay. So that is something which you all have to reflect also. This is the thing. Now we are seeing the chariot and where Arjuna and Krishna is there. So we all know that Pandavas are going to win the war, right? That is a known fact. But could you give reasons for why they could? Because Sanjaya could easily see that they will surely win the war. What are the signs? Because the signs are very obvious. So he could of Pandava's victory. So this is, yes, Krishna is there. Then any other things you could think of?
Ma'am, the divine chariot.
Yeah, divine chariot was given by Lord Agni. And then?
Ma'am, Hanuman in the flag.
Yes, Kapidvaja. Then? About the weapons, Arjuna had Gandiva, right? And
Dharma was a weapon, ma'am.
yes,
because Mataji, I think that not just because of the weapons, but because they were on the side of Dharma, it was the greatest sign. Because just like Arjuna had great weapons, on the other side, Bhishma and Karna also had great weapons. So it was not just about the weapons; it was because they were on the side of Dharma.
That's right. And also you'll have goddess of victory, she'll be there wherever Krishna is there, right? So that is the thing. Dharma is there. So that's how that was a sign. Thank you so much. All of you have given me the right answer. So Dharma Kshetra, and also the battle was taken place at Kurukshetra. It's a place of pilgrimage. Okay. So Dharma Kshetra, it starts off with Dharma. And the Kapidvaja was there, Shankanada. All these blowing of these they had conch shells were transcendental. So, that sound itself would create fear in the enemies. And Gandiva, Pashupastra, and Takta Jivita. So here, the people at the wall assembled there. It was lot of people, all, the whole world. I mean, those days, the whole world was under one rule. So all the Maharajas, think of different countries, everybody had assembled there. And they had come to give even if they die also, they were prepared to die. So Takta Jivita. So that was the mentality of the people who had assembled in that battlefield. And it was on the Mokshada Ekadashi. And Bhagya Lakshmi will be there wherever Krishna is there. So Rishikesha. Rishikesha is another name for Lord Krishna. Is the master of senses. So this was known from the beginning. But now comes the reaction of Arjuna. So what does Arjuna say? You can see he was very compassionate, and he feels there's no enjoyment, and you can see the tears, and he sings. Then he says his family traditions will be lost, and indecision. So we are going to see this in more detail. And there are a lot of symptoms of Arjuna's body due to his soft-heartedness. This was like his limbs of his body was quivering, his mouth drying up, his whole body is trembling, his hair is standing on end, his bow, Kandiva is slipping. All that things could be seen by Sanjaya. His skin is burning. He was unable to stand there any longer. He was forgetting himself. His mind was reeling. He sees only causes of misfortune. So these were the things. Whereas you see the anxiety was there in Dhritarashtra and the fear was in Duryodhana. But you see just the opposite reactions in Arjuna. Arjuna Uvacha, Vishtvema Swajanam Krishna, Yoyotsam Samupastitam, Siddhanti Mama Gatrani Mukam Cha Parishyate. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me, in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. So, why he says that? And no, actually, they all had prepared before. They knew why they are coming for the fight and all that. But that is something like you prepare everything in the palace. You're at home, like, you're arranging all that, and you're looking at the arrangements, and the causes for fighting and all that. But actually, when you come to the battlefield and you see the entire thing force there, because he goes to the middle of the thing to see who all have come. And there he sees not only the sons of the Dhritarashtra, that is Duryodhana's brothers and all that, but he sees his own grandfather. He sees his own master, his own guru. Then he sees his all relatives, all friends whom he all had grown up with. He has been had dealings with it. I mean, to see that, and on the other side, all with preparation to take the war. So he feels bewildered, and he says, my dear Krishna, seeing my friends, relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. So it was not the thing. You can see the emotions which are coming up in this Bhagavad Gita, very clearly explained. Na cha shreyo anupashyami hatva swajanam ahave na kankshe vijayam Krishna na cha rajyam sukani cha. So he says, how do I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle. Nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. So he says in this, now what is the point? There's no enjoyment. Rajyam Sukhani Cha. Because once they're all not there, and with whom shall I share my victory with, or show my happiness? So when all of them are killed, or his own grandfather and all of them killed, his own relatives. So he is very compassionate. Papam eva shriyad ashman atvaitam atatyinaha tasman naraha vayam hantum dittasha swabanava. Sajanam hi katam hatva sukhina syama madhava. See, in every verse, he addresses in different ways Krishna. Here he is addressing him as Madhava. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. When we saw the different type of aggressors I explained. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. And he's a religious person, he knows the scriptures. So he's telling sin will overcome us if we slay such people. And what should we gain? Oh, Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune. Gain, see, he was talking about gaining, so he is addressing him as Madhava. And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? So he feels he feels it is sinful to do such an act, to kill them. Knowingly, they have been slaying aggressors. I mean, actually, as a Kshatriya, he had to do that. But he's feeling so overwhelmed by seeing the entire army over there. Then he talks about Kula Keshaya Shaya Pranashyanti. Kula dharma sanatanaha dharme nashta kulam krishnam adharma vibhavati. That is, with the destruction of dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished. And the rest of the family becomes involved in religious practice. So he is also worried. Like here, when the fight, the common people won't be there. See, they all will assemble in one place where the fight is going, whereas the children, women are all there in their own houses. So they don't get killed. Not like today's warfare, which is taking place, where the common people, innocent children, and all are get caught in that warfare. So, but this is the thing, and he's worried if the elders and all are not there, and how will the family tradition will be, who will be there to guide them, to protect the children and the women. So if the tradition is vanquished, then they will lead up to irreligious practice because they won't be able to know what is the dharma. So now do we know which is better? Now he doesn't know. Now this verse is taken from chapter 2. Na shaisat vidvaha katara nagaryo yadva jayama yadiva na jayeho yan eva hatva na jijvasvam tavastita pramukhe datash. He said now he doesn't know whether conquering them or be conquered by them is better. The sons of Dhritarashtra, whom if we kill, we should not care to live, are now standing before us on this path. So now he is giving all these reasons to Krishna, saying that is now these are the things. Compassionate, no enjoyment. It is sin to kill your own kinsmen. And they might not know the dharma and all that. At least we know what is right and what is wrong. So he says it's sinful. And family traditions will be lost, and now he can't take a decision. So finally, he comes up with this. So this is what was there in chapter 9. So how do we relate? So this is what was summary. We started with a distrust inquiry where he's asking Kim Akkurvata, what are they doing? And Duryodhana here, Mahatim Chamo with you. You will be surprised by seeing the military strength, the way they had arranged their army. He gets really taken aback, surprised by that so many people are there fighting for Pandavas, and he comes and talks to Dronacharya and how he is trying to be making sure that they fight for him and not for Pandava's sake. And when the conch shells were blown, it was shattering the fear in the hearts of the Duryodhana's brothers. Then Arjuna's observation. Then how we saw his shivering hairs are standing, and all that observation we saw. And it gives his reasons not to fight. And finally leaves his weapons. So tomorrow we have to see what the Krishna is going to say. Now the question comes, why does Kim Akurvata, that is, what are they doing? Same comes with our conflicts in life. In our life, there will be a lot of conflicts. And what are we going to do about it? And here, why does Arjuna inquire? Why he gets bewildered and why he is indecisive? So that question will come into all our minds, because he is not, he didn't lack any intelligence. We saw from his answer questions, no? He was quite intelligent. He had all the skill to fight, and he knew the values, and he had the vision. Everything was there in him, but why did he get bewildered? So that's a question we need to reflect upon, and why it happened. And I just defined intelligence. No? Today they talk about IQ, UQ, SQ, because today it's not just about the skills. They also talk about emotional quotient, and finally the spiritual quotient is also there, which today's philosophers, psychologists or human HR and all talk about. Okay, because spirituality is going to play a major role in our life. So they are also bringing up in that today's life. There's a talk of a lot of things have come up recently about spiritual quotient. Okay, so this is something which we need to think about. Why nothing? So I would like you all to comment on this, and with this I will close this thing, and we'll have some discussion. Okay, Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatur abhyascha kripa sindhu avayevacha patitam nam pavanebho Vaishnavo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare. So we like you all to chant, and let me stop.